Episode 21. We're so old. We've been doing this so long. God, it feels like yesterday we just started off. Greenlight Pod. Coming up, we got head coaching press conferences in the NFL. That's all that matters, right? Might as well hand somebody a Lombardi trophy if they have a good press conference. We got Mike Leach, Mississippi State. We got the NFL playoffs. We got Tom Brady. And we've got some of our favorite sports movies and inspirational speeches in general. Check us out and check out my interview with Dave Damashek. We really got in depth on the divisional round stuff. So check that out as well. We have a live watch this Saturday night, Ravens, Titans, all that on Greenlight.
Can legally drink.
We about to get drunk.
21 was my favorite number because of Tiki Barber.
Tiki Barber, shout out Tiki Barber, gave me a ride home from the Orange Bowl. Also, thanks for watching. A lot of people are watching this pod now. Did you notice that lately?
No, I purposefully do not.
Yeah, a lot of people are big fans of yours, Meg. All right, let's get this thing rolling. It's always a blessing to have you back. Macon Gunner, my co-host here, real estate extraordinaire.
Thank you.
And me, dumb jock co-host. I'm a co-host. I don't consider myself the host.
I think you're the host.
We were just having this conversation.
I want to add the dumb adjective to myself a few seconds ago.
What did you say?
Well, I said purposefully. I really panicked in about a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
I meant to say purposely, which means on purpose. That's a synonym of intentionally.
Right.
Purposefully means with a sense of purpose or with determination. So I don't, with determination, avoid our numbers.
Yeah.
I, on purpose, avoid looking at the numbers.
Yeah, got it. You purposefully avoid the numbers.
No, purposely.
Con.
1-0.
1-0 me on the day. He just can't help but correct me. And he couldn't even wait to get to corrections. Usually I take my medicine like a big boy. He says one very complex word wrong, and he can't wait till the corrections. Big news today. I'm just going through the news. Taco Bell.
Oh,
did you hear about this?
No.
They're paying people like $100K to work there now.
Good.
What is the catch? I don't know, but I love it. And I am pro Taco Bell. We did that weeks ago now. I'm really craving some Taco Bell. So when I get out of here, I might go back to the well again on that one. Yeah.
Another thing I read on that machine there was that Josh McCown, it's come out that he ripped his hamstring off the bone in that game last week.
You can only do that by being fast, which he is.
Right.
Yeah. And shout out to Josh McCown. I mean, like, to be that tough and gritty and just determined, this only adds to the lore. I remember when we were watching that live, called a live watch for those of you who, it's another thing. We do a mailbag. We do live watches. It's one-of-a-kind content here. You can't find it anywhere else.
And check it out tonight, Saturday night. We're doing Ravens-Titans.
We're doing Ravens-Titans. That's going to be a big deal. If you've heard of the Ravens, they're a very good football team. Some would say they're the hottest team in football. I would argue that the Titans are just as hot, especially because the Ravens had 2 weeks off. But we'll see. But yeah, Josh McCown, dude. It's. I know he lost the game, but he's never going to be. He's never a loser to me because this dude has been a consummate professional his entire career. Everybody that's played with him, you'd be hard pressed to find a single negative thing to say about him. And I think sometimes when you hear somebody say can't find a bad thing to say about that guy, I always think, well, that guy must be fake because something wrong with all of us. I would hope somebody has bad things to say about me. I know they do.
Plenty, yeah.
You too. I mean, I was just saying bad things about you last night. Talking to my wife, we were talking shit about you.
Is that right?
For about 30 minutes.
Are you serious?
No, only 15.
Why? What things?
We'll get to it's a plan. I'm planning this in your head to make you feel self-conscious for the rest of the podcast.
Huh.
Could be true, could not be true.
Oh, no, it's true.
Oh, God.
And now I'm upset.
Oh, my God. Well, this is training for when the stakes are higher, when we have millions of viewers. I got to push you to be uncomfortable as a co-host. So this is master manipulation, coaching, motivation. We're going to get into that stuff now. That's what I'm doing to you right now. Yeah, Josh, you can never find a negative thing to say about him. Not like you or I, where there's actually real negatives. I mean, you would admit that there's negatives about you, right?
Yeah, for sure. I just don't know what you and your wife are talking about for 15 minutes.
It wasn't 15. It was like 3. Josh McCown tore his hamstring off the bone. That's definitely newsworthy because we were watching it and like dude's still trying to run around, and it's hard to run around when you're 40 years old anyways on a football field with all those dudes out there. But with the hamstring off the bone, that's tough too. Also, a 17-year-old kid discovered a planet. Yeah.
Telescope or something?
No, he was interning at NASA, and he discovered a planet at 17 years old. So I was thinking about the fact that I haven't done anything that cool in 34 years.
Oh, sure you have.
No, neither of us have. I mean, discovering a planet, shout out to that kid. His name is, where was it here? Anyways.
Wim Hof?
No, it's not Wim Hof. It is, what's this kid's name? Here he is. New York teen discovers new planet while interning with NASA. A New York teen reached for the stars. That's how you open the article. And found a one-of-a-kind planet, Wolf Cookier.
All right. And you brought me down, a few seconds ago. Everybody heard it. I came in here with an elevated mood because I did do Wim Hof's cold shower this morning. Awful.
Oh, no.
So I was like, okay. And I've read about the benefits before of a cold shower.
Yeah, the bennies.
Frigid.
Yeah.
I got in, it hit like my feet, and I started screaming, and I decided I couldn't do it. So I went warm shower for about 3 to 5 minutes. Then I said, okay, come on, content for the program, etc. I went back to frigid, and I did it.
So this was a surprise. You told me you had a surprise.
Yeah. And I did feel good afterward.
You did? So how long did you stay cold?
2.
That's
minutes.
A good solid stretch.
Yeah, and
the hyperventilation thing is real, right?
Yeah, and I was screaming a little bit during it. I was like dancing around and jumping in it.
You move. You're like, I can't. If you literally just put the cold water on your head hurts.
Yeah, it does hurt. It hurts at first.
Yeah, you got to move it to like your. Sometimes I'll just, it's a struggle for me to get through a minute. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Greg Dotson on Twitter said, finish the green light pod, tried the cold shower immediately, 1 minute definite heavy breathing, still alive, and put in a 4-mile run complete with 4 sets of 13 push-ups, my recommended set number. He said, I'm hooked.
There we go.
It's a movement.
I'm telling you, Wim Hof, shout out to Wim Hof, relative of the program, not a friend of the program, distant relative of the program. He doesn't know it yet, but we are going to start this cold shower movement. Nobody's going to do it together, everybody individually taking their own showers, but it really is a game changer. Did you feel the rush of kind of like the euphoria a little bit?
No.
Yeah, well, I get that. Yeah, so Wim Hof, big fan of that. Also this week we had your New York Giants hire somebody.
Oh, love it.
You like that?
Could not love it anymore.
Tell me why.
You might recall that I told you, why can't teams just hire somebody I've never heard of? That's what I said.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted.
Yep.
And I also mentioned for the G-men, Dave Tobe, who's a special teams guy in Kansas City.
Yep.
Instead, I get special teams guy in New England, who's coached under
arguably better
Belichick, Saban, role only grew in New England. You talk about John Harbaugh. He's the first name that comes to mind. Other special teams guys who became head coaches who made it: Bill Belichick, Dick Vermeil, Marv Levy, Mike Ditka. It's a long list.
Cowher, right?
Bill Cowher. So I'm fired up. He also wore navy suit, white shirt, black tie. Thought it was a great look to the presser.
Yeah.
And he answered questions authentically, it seemed to me. Now, everybody's talking about pads, tackling in practice.
That's a downer if I'm sitting there as a Giant and I'm north of 30, or really at all, And most of these kids, have not seen a lot of that because they're new CBA guys. I had a couple years of it, but I've been in some places where they still throw on the pads a lot and tackle a lot. If I'm hearing that, when you get a new coach and you're waiting, and I've done that a bunch of times in my career, you're like, it's like a box of chocolates. You really don't know. It could be like pro player coach. It could be, you could be going to hell, for a few years here. And Joe Judge, by the way, I'm not even going to argue the merits of the hire. I heard all week, hey, wide receivers coach. The guy made his hay as a special teams coach. It is relevant information. He was in New England for 8-10 years. And as you mentioned, Saban and Belichick. I can't figure out if it's a Bill thing where he just throws him at the Giants because he doesn't think he's going to succeed, or if he likes him and that's why he gave his blessing.
Did he give blessing? That's what I don't get. You have to ask for permission.
No, but just it's more like do you endorse this guy? And if you're Bill, an endorsement means a lot. And from what I understand, he really likes Joe Judge, like authentically. But some people might look at it like, we joked about the Michael Bennett trade. The way he traded Bennett away as possibly his best pass rusher up front, had he used him correctly, you'd wonder if it was a case of, I can't stand him, so I'm getting rid of him, or I think the Cowboys are good, so I'm going to plant him here because I think he's disruptive and he's going to disrupt the whole thing. I think it's more of authentically, I think he likes Joe Judge.
Yeah. I know there have been cases of permission being denied to talk to X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Can you be denied permission to talk to somebody and hire and offer them a job anyway?
I don't know.
That's such a weird deal.
It's a very weird dynamic. We're going to get into all the weirdness of like the hiring practices and processes. A lot of these coaches know who they're going to hire. These GMs and owners know who they're going to hire halfway through the season. There's a lot of back channel stuff going on, but Joe Judge wasn't in the forefront.
Right.
In fact, I tried to read a very interesting article. It was very long on the timeline with which this all went down. And he was kind of if it was musical chairs, he wasn't the center of attention. He was the guy that was just going to end up with the chair he ended up with, if at all. And he blew them away in the interview process. And that coupled with the moving parts of Rule and McDaniels, who by the time this pod drops could have a job in Cleveland. I don't know. I think Joe Judge, if you're looking for a motivator, will be just fine. I mean, I've been there with him in New England. He's well respected. You talk to Matt Slater. You talk to, a number of those special teams guys who were iconic there.
Did y'all notice how Chris couldn't name one more of his teammates?
You could Landon Roberts. You could talk about Nate Ebner. You could talk about. I was only there for a year, so
it's cool.
I could name some special teams guys there. There was the punter, the kicker, Gostkowski.
There you go.
He
was a team long guy.
Gostkowski
this fantasy season, even on IR.
I kept him on for like 5-6 weeks.
Yep.
There were a number of guys there that when you ask about him, said that he knows enough about both sides of the ball that he'll survive. He's not a play caller, but I don't think that's a necessity now.
Right. I think it shouldn't be. I think you should have a guy who's managing the other coaches and an offensive play caller, defensive play caller, and intensity-wise, at least, it looks to be a 180 from Pat Shurmur.
It does. And, of course, there's a whole number of questions about Pat Shurmur, who's won like 9 games, and Ben
McAdoo for that
and
matter.
Ben McAdoo, who was just sub 500, who Pat Shurmur made look good. I think you have, from a motivational standpoint, you're better off with Joe Judge and the physicality that he's going to bring to that team. I mean, teams aren't going to want to face a team that's physical and has Saquon Barkley. If they can shore up that offensive line and they make it their identity, and you can't lead with that in today's football, you need a wrinkle. I mean, San Francisco's done that, but their scheme is very dynamic. They also take shots. The Ravens were another one of those top 4 teams that had, top 4 rushing attacks, in the playoffs. The Ravens have a wrinkle in Lamar. I mean, Seattle is one of the true teams that still runs the ball like at a dinosaur level a little bit with some of these new age analytics people that want them to move on. But all these rushing teams, you can't lean on it 100%, but you could use the physicality that I think he's going to implement there. And, time will tell. I don't know why we have to everybody weigh in on if it's going to work or not. We've gotten this thing where we have to call if Joe Judge is going to be successful or not. I don't know. What I can give you is background on who he is. And I'm just tired of everybody being like, oh, it's going to work or it's not going to work. Just let it play out.
As a player in St. Louis, you probably watched, or maybe you didn't. Question is, did you watch the new coach's introductory press conference?
Yeah, I'll always remember watching Jeff Fisher's. I would try to watch him because I would try to get a read on coaches. And we're doing this thing now. Press conferences, it's almost become a running joke where if you win the press conference, I mean, hey, it's all downhill from here, right? And you mentioned something earlier, which is you talk about, letting the play callers call plays before we get on the press. I think, and this is more of a college model. You think about some of these older coaches in college, that more figurehead type coaches, motivators, they got their play callers. I used to hear about Bowden would be up in the tower or on a golf cart or whatever. And that's a unique situation. But I think a lot of people surface level football fans don't think about all the game management, the schedule, how you travel your team, when you go out, sports science, managing that program, managing the analytics, managing strength and conditioning, the training staff, managing people. I mean, That is A1 for head coaches. You can be the best play caller in the league, but if you aren't emotionally intelligent, and we'll get into that in a minute, and if you don't know people, and if you're not a planner as far as the details are concerned, and you've got people up in the booth that, give you game time situational stuff, or, they got the sheet and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you're the one who okays a challenge flag or doesn't. And Shermer, who has a guy call down from the booth and tells him not to challenge it, he challenges it anyways and then rips the challenge guy. It's not an automatic. And it's happening in real time with a lot of pressure on you. You've been thinking about all these game situations. Something pops up. All coaches are not created equal from situational awareness perspective and an emotional intelligence perspective, and we haven't even gotten to the play calling. But did Joe Judge win the press conference? Other than the Navy, did you like what he had to say?
I thought it was an A-.
A-, okay.
I think he could have toned down the, hey, we're just going to run our players into the ground 7 days out of the week. But no, I really liked it. Liked the hire. Again, I wanted somebody I had never heard of, which is a strange criterion to have. But
bingo.
Got that guy in Joe Judge.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll see how it plays out. I like the guy. It doesn't mean I like the hire. Do I think, the process was surprising? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm never surprised with the way, the lack of predictability of how people hire. I mean, you look at McCarthy, what we'll get into it later. But the Rule press conference is the one that was the everybody's favorite this week, right?
Which I did not get.
I didn't get it. And I like Rule. I mean, I do. I think he's a program builder. I think as I went back and studied, the last 5 years, coaches that were getting jobs, he's as qualified as any college guy that's come up as far as a program builder. And that was Tepper's guy since the beginning, probably, which is another issue with this hiring process is how do you avoid it? But owners generally have their guy, and he threw him a lot of money. He's built 2 programs up at Temple and Baylor, teams that were laughing stocks at one point. And
when he was interviewed on the field, I guess most recently at Baylor, you can tell going into halftime or after a game, he's seeing everything clearly.
Yes.
Very intelligent, knows football. I get it. I can see why he's successful. But the, hey, you got to watch this press conference, it'll take your breath away sort of stuff.
And I'm like,
was lost on me.
Yeah, there was no breath taken away.
No.
Listen, just fine.
Yeah.
It was just fine.
He likes football.
Got it. By the way, he's a Parcells guy. Likes football. Football has taken him great places. I've heard that speech a lot. Mm-hmm. So my thing is just don't package it like it's anything crazy. I know you have to blow people away.
And he wasn't responsible for the marketing of his presser.
No.
So it's not on him.
No, he's doing the best he can in the presser. Yeah. I mean, and he's being as professional. He spoke well. I mean, listen, he seems like a good public speaker. He seems like he's going to address the team well. But and another thing is, did he tell the guys on text message that he was leaving? I know that's relatively in college now. You know college status quo better than I do. Is that pretty prevalent right now?
No, it's still standard operating procedure to get your guys in the room and tell them yourself. It'd be interesting to see what Coach Leach did too. I don't know about Rule. We'll look into that.
Well, I read that he texted every player individually. Okay. It would take less effort to get on a plane and fly back and call a meeting.
Right. And isn't that a lot of copy, paste, change the first name?
Yep. Yeah, which just seems...
And all the players are going to say, hey, did you get this text?
Yeah, I mean, you would think, unless he personalized every one, and kudos to him. And only his players know what type of guy he is. But for me, that always rubs me wrong when you can't stand in front of your team and tell them why you're leaving. Because God forbid a player transfers or anything like that, but that's a whole nother tangent. Again, no issue with his speaking ability or for me, it was just... I was like you. I was getting ready to hold my breath and have it taken away, and
right.
and it wasn't. It seemed like a movie speech to me a little bit, and so that prompted me at least to go back and look through my favorite sports movie speeches and motivational speeches and movies. And what I discovered is that they are way overrated generally, and I against your will, had you looking up movie scenes, which I thought was like pulling teeth.
Well, when someone tells me they're going to send me videos or links to videos, I sit there awaiting the videos.
That's fair.
Or the links to videos.
You know, all you have to do is Google TV or movie speeches. You know, there's only 15. There's only 15.
They never came.
I got 2 kids, man, you know.
So for all I knew, this pod wasn't on today.
Oh, God. Here we go. How about Any Given Sunday? That's the GOAT for me.
Okay.
You're going to let me down here.
I'm going to let you down by saying I haven't seen the film.
The film, you don't need to see the film. The film is... What bothered me about that film was that for a long time, you had people that really thought that we were all like chainsawing Escalades on the roof. And that was like how we lived at like parties and shit. Like, it's very misleading as far as the lifestyle component is concerned. Whatever team that was, I've never seen a team like it. Maybe in the 80s or something, but, you know, it's a lot more tame than that. Now, the speech, have you ever seen the speech?
Nah, man. And let me explain myself before you get into it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm immersed in sports, you more so than me, but...
Yeah, well, not necessarily.
I just think it's so hard to do a fictional story about sports and have it be believable to a sports fan.
On that, yes.
So it's just not my favorite genre.
Now
as,
listen,
Mr. Trebek would say.
Yeah. Now listen. By the way, I thought it was fucked up the way they treated Trebek on Jeopardy. I heard they boomered him.
Did they really?
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not.
Trebek the GOAT.
The GOAT. Anyways, yeah. Listen, for an athlete, I think sports fans in general, and this is no disrespect, people are more idealistic when it comes to sports than athletes. Like, whatever your profession, whatever you do, if they made a movie about it, you probably wouldn't like it. You know, and mostly sports movies bother me. Are there a lot of real estate movies?
Well, there's one, which I'm going to talk to you about.
Oh, okay. You want me to wait on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any Given Sunday, one of the best speeches in movie history. Definitely the best speech in sports history, sports movie histories. Probably the best speech that I would have ever heard as an athlete in real life if Al Pacino had made that speech in a team meeting, or maybe a little bit more abbreviated before game, because a 6-minute speech in the locker room is not going to play well. Guys are tight. Like, when you're getting ready for a game, you know, I'm having a hard enough time. I'm in the hot tub 3 times, especially when you get a little bit older, because you're like, all right, I get to the stadium 3 hours before. I hop in to make me feel better. It might be cold out. I just want to feel better. You go out, you warm up, you come back in, you get back in. Guys are rolling themselves out, which is basically like foam rollers, or the sticks that people rub, you know, on their calves or whatever. Lacrosse balls. Guys are getting ready. there's no time for a 6-minute speech. Like, you're always rushing to get one more thing on. Nobody's as settled as that team was in that locker room. But that speech gives me chills every time. And actually, I always made the time when I was in St. Louis, especially in the darkest days of my career, that I would listen to it on my headphones. It starts with, I don't know what to say, really. And yes, you did, Al. It's a remarkable speech. Sometimes I get emotional listening to it. You got Jim Brown in the background leaning on the wall. Every assistant coach is unnaturally yoked. My favorite part of the speech is where he says, "We're in hell right now." Spoiler alert. Doesn't seem like you're going to be interested in watching the movie anyways. You couldn't even watch the YouTube. We're in hell right now. And then the music kicks in. The music is the best part. Well, it's equally as good as the speech, which is rare because as we go through these, they don't always get the music right. I can't do it for you. I'm too old. I love that. I'm not, the middle-aged man tangent was the weak point of a relatively brilliant speech. But again, when Willie Beeman starts walking up and he's got Willie's attention, it's the inches we need are everywhere around us. That's the fucking difference. Between living and dying, all that stuff. And then the very stock hell yeahs in the background sound like your prototypical roided out 43-year-old, offensive line type character. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Sometimes when I listen to that speech, I actually wish I would have just broken my body completely playing football. That's what it makes me feel like. I was listening to it yesterday and I was like, I'm so happy right now, but maybe I should just go run this fucking thing into the ground because Al Pacino would want me to do that.
Can I take you back to real life for a second?
It takes me out of real life. That's why it's such a good speech.
May I take you back?
Yeah.
That was interesting, what you were saying there. Before every game, did the head coach address the team as one?
Yeah.
Every single game that you ever played?
Usually. And some were better than others. Like Jeff Fisher was great because he'd come in and he'd keep it to under 30 seconds every time.
And do people get out of their chairs and stand up and huddle around?
Yeah, you try to come in and stand up
right before you run out of the tunnel.
Generally, and this is how it would go with the Eagles, is like Doug would call us all up, and then he'd go. Usually towards the end it was, "You got us, Chris." So I would have in the locker room speech, which
look at that,
which to me was way more fun than doing it on the field. Malk had to do it on the field, and the problem with doing it on the field is everybody can hear what you say.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be good. Me, there's a lot more leeway either way, and I can say things that I couldn't say on the field.
You can eat your W's, and nobody's gonna.
Yeah, like you can go viral on the field giving a speech. So, the pressure for Malcolm was much higher than the pressure for me in the locker room. If you say something in the locker room, as you said, you can eat all the W's you want. You can misspeak. You can say things that would be not suitable for TV or radio.
Mm-hmm.
And they give that guy the speech, and the team would huddle up after the coach's speech, and then we go out. And that's kind of how it goes. Now, a coach who's going to talk a long time is going to lose your attention before a game, because by game day, and I talked about this with Motivators. Somebody asked me about motivation for coaches. One, I mentioned emotional intelligence. You've got to have that throughout the week. People ask, okay, who are the best motivators? Who gives you the pregame speech? It is not about the pregame speech. I have tuned you out as a coach by pregame. Not a good player speech, because you're in the foxhole together that day. Coaches' jobs as motivators are to motivate through the week and through the off season, and to know when to dangle the carrot, to know when to put the foot on the gas pedal, when to back off, when to approach a guy who's having a hard time, when to kick somebody in the ass. Like, that's motivation. And it's also like you do a lot of mundane things that you don't want to, like 6 days a week. I did not want to be a pro football player. So for me, even somebody who's very internally motivated, tell me why this period is important. Tell me why this practice is important. I know why it is. I'm going to go out and do my best, but lift my attitude so it's more contagious. Bring the morale of the team up. So how do you do that? That's every day. That's every day in the morning. It's not, it's reading the room. And a lot of coaches don't have emotional intelligence. A lot of people don't. And I think that's one of the most underrated skills in any profession, whether it's an athlete or a coach, knowing your teammates, your players, emotional intelligence, and picking your spots. And I think that's motivation as much as it is an Al Pacino speech. It's actually more.
I think that is really well said and hella interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, because to me, it's so basic and that's the difference between somebody watching a sports movie one way or the other is I'm watching it and saying that won't play.
Right.
Yeah, everybody else is like, I'm eating it up. That's what motivators do. Think about it. If I busted my ass for 6 days, took Toradol on a Wednesday, practiced with a broken rib or with a high ankle sprain, or, I'm tired, I'm not sleeping. We took a flight to the West Coast. It's week 14. Like, I'm already invested. Your job is to get me to game day. And once I get to game day, I'm good. Get me in the right position to make plays and get the team feeling fresh and in a good mood to go kick somebody's ass. And I've had coaches that have done that. Two of my best motivating coaches, Doug was a good motivator. He was short and sweet guy. Greg Williams was a great motivator. Very polarizing figure for some, but Greg Williams could dish it and take it. As far as he could say the meanest shit to you, you could say the meanest shit to him. No sensitivity with him. He could have fun with you. He could joke with you. Or he could make you hear a pin drop in the meeting room. He would walk around that meeting room in Earth City after a game the next day. And we'd all have our like little student desks, like with the very uncomfortable, which is another pet peeve of mine in pro football. We spend more time sitting than anything. Give us some fucking sharper image chairs or whatever the Brookstone chairs. Invest in that. You got all these fancy sports science programs. Invest in some fucking Brookstone chairs while I'm getting chewed out by Greg Williams. He would walk through the chairs, walk behind people, like somebody walk up behind you and talk to you behind your head. He would like walk around people, behind people, eye contact, dramatic pauses. And he knew the buttons to push. And you could hear a pin drop because he was that great a motivator. But the biggest thing with him is that he could dish it and take it.
In what scenario is he taking it from players?
Well, we bust his balls. We make fun of him. There's no sensitivity with him. And he could do it, too, with the best of them.
But it's not like, hey, that was one crappy game you just called.
I mean, a veteran could say, hey, that was a fucked up call.
Okay.
And he would say, you're right, that was bad. And you know what Greg always did that I appreciate? He always made it about the players. He always noted on a regular basis that it's about you guys. This is why I love doing it, is you guys. You guys are out there making the plays, not me. And a lot of people that know Greg might say, Greg has an ego. Well, yeah, Greg has an ego. To be great in anything, you have to have an ego. And newsflash, every human being has an ego because the term gets thrown around incorrectly. But it's about duality as a coach. Being an asshole, being emotionally intelligent at times, being cocky at the right time, but being humble at the right time to say, I fucked that call up. And that's what Greg had. Now, Mike Waffle, my D-line coach, he was a great motivator as well in his own way. And he was my D-line. He's a Marine. He's my D-line coach in St. Louis with, that group. We're still so tight. Our group text just fired up again yesterday. Me, Robert Quinn, William Hayes, Kendall Langford, Brockers, the whole nine, Aaron Donald. I mean, those names, we had some studs, but we also lived with a code. Like, that was it. And Mike, although we disagreed a lot and we fought a lot, and I might not agree with him on certain, schematic, or technique ways of doing things, he's very rigid that way. What he did is he created an atmosphere that was all about brotherhood. And so when you create an atmosphere that's about brotherhood, and that comes from the right personalities, doing things together, creating pride in our unit, that sort of thing, doing everything together. We did everything together. Most unit groups in the NFL, when they get out of the building, they go their separate ways. We did everything together. And Mike fostered that environment. Once you do that, Mike was a hard ass, and Mike would make us work as hard as anybody in the league. In fact, too hard. I mean, like, my body started to break down because I was trying to do all the things he wanted me to do in individual, etc. Sprint to the ball, bunch of bag drills, like, if you don't put the governor on, it can be hard. But what he did was, even with all his like hard ass motivation, you were motivated by each other. And that's a trick that coaches, if they're smart, can catch on to, is create an environment where the group motivates for you. I don't have to be yelling and screaming. I don't want to let William Hayes down. William Hayes don't want to let me down. Robert Quinn the same way. And that was the environment he fostered. We had fun. We fucked around in meetings. We had music. Sometimes, we drink beer together, that sort of thing. We'd interrupt. We'd get on our phones sometimes in meetings. Sometimes he'd be like, get off your phone for a second. I got a point to make. That was the kind of daycare center environment he had, because D linemen are fucked up. And, but on the practice field, he was as strict and stringent as anybody, and sometimes too much. But we loved WAF because WAF created an environment where we had a brotherhood.
Did you have teammates who would say to you, we're in a room where we can't stand our position coach?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was always, there's always a few position coaches that people couldn't stand. And there's also bad games where for a week you can't stand your position coach, even if they're cool. You can't stand your coach, your position coach. Because the most stressful place, in sports, I would argue, is in a football locker room or meeting room after a loss. There's no time to move on. Like in hockey or basketball or baseball, like we're going to be in this bunker together for a week. And we just got beat 44-7, or we just gave up 200 on the ground. So yeah, that's my tangent about motivation and coaching. I think if you can be emotionally intelligent, and if you're a position coach, you can keep that emotional intelligence, but also create a brotherhood environment. And that's what we had in St. Louis. And any good coach will tell you sometimes the best motivation can be accountability to your brothers. And that's what he created. So Any Given Sunday is the best one. I also went through Saving Private Ryan, the school teacher speech. That was on the list. I thought it was too much standing around to be in fucking World War I. Was it World War I or World War II? Two. Well, I'm not standing around in either world war. No one is letting you get off a 3-minute monologue in the middle of like a whole war.
I have yet to be in war. I do think there is some downtime.
Don't say that.
There's some downtime.
I know, but yet to be in war. Let's not.
Yeah, I hope never to be in war. I hope for nobody else to ever be in war.
I ain't going.
Yeah. Hope nobody has to.
So yeah, they stood around a lot, and then like, every man I kill, the farther away from home I feel. Like, who says that? There's other ways to say that. It just was too Hollywood for what I would imagine was a really tense. And guys are like, who lets you go on a 3-4 minute monologue in a situation? I don't know. Independence Day, you watch that one though.
Mm-hmm.
President Whitmore.
Did I just watch it?
Yeah, with the aliens and a bunch of people in a.
Yeah, it
didn't do much for me.
Stick.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't. The music was cheesy. It was very 90s. Braveheart, though. Can we agree on the freedom speech?
Yeah, pretty good. In part because you have interplay, I think.
I love interplay.
Yeah, there's some there's response there from his constituents.
Is that like the hell yeah?
Sort of, but it's like, hey, nah, instead of fighting, we're gonna head back.
Yes. Nah.
Yeah.
Like, how did we hear every complaint? Like, you know what I mean? The boom must have been
big boom.
Big boom, because you heard every little pithy comment, and everybody heard everything. It's always funny to me in battle scenes, like when Jon Snow gets up there in front of 1,000 like wildlings, and he's like, "We're gonna win today," and the guy like half a mile back's like, "Yeah," like what the fuck is he saying?
Yeah. Well, it's fake.
Braveheart is not fake. Now, Game of Thrones is fake. Braveheart was real. William Wallace was real. The music was elite here. You had some humor, some interplay, as you said. We're here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men, and free men you are. The action of fighting makes you free men. Plus, way easier to talk me into charging at a bunch of spears in medieval times than it is now. Like, I think it was way easier to make that speech back then. If you made that speech today, people would be like, no, life is too good. I'm going to go get on my Xbox and in my heated bedroom, and drink some clean water and Grubhub some Taco Bell. Like these guys are like, fuck it. If I get impaled today, at least I don't have to be cold as shit in my grass hut in the Scottish countryside. Like, you know what I mean? I got nothing to lose back then. We all smell bad.
I don't know. You often refer to me as someone destined for colonial times.
Yeah, you're very colonial.
Yeah, I think I would have made a really nice life in colonial times.
I think had either of us been there when William Wallace was talking that noise, we would have been like, we're out.
Yeah, and I'm talking more.
You're talking like 1700s.
Yeah, no, but still no Xbox or Taco Bell, which is gross in 2020.
Yeah.
No offense.
Well, I haven't had Taco Bell or Xbox in 2020, but that's about to change this weekend. Yeah, the life expectancy was shorter. You could die in any number of ways back then. You could easily talk me into charging a bunch of people with horses and spears.
I'm just saying, I think I would have made a great life for myself in colonial times.
Yeah.
William Wallace times.
Really?
Yeah. I think just heading back home would have been my choice.
What do you think? How would they have put you to use back then?
Give me a scenario.
Like blacksmith.
Oh, great question. Probably a cobbler.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They make shoes, right?
That's right.
I could see that.
I could too.
I really like, as far as sports movies are concerned, I like the Warrior speeches. I like Warrior is one of my favorite movies. Have you seen Warrior? No, you haven't seen Warrior.
Of course not.
It's an MMA movie. Tom Hardy. You would think it's not very good, but it's very good. The Nick Nolte scene in the hotel room, I remember the first time me and my family watched, it was 4 big dudes, all of us in the room, just kind of dumbfounded watching this scene. And then when during the scene, and it's a very gut-wrenching scene, audiobook, Moby Dick, Nick Nolte, alcoholism, Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy, all he does is grunt in movies. But anyways, I mean, we're all sitting there, and I just hear my dad get up and walk out of the room in the middle of the speech. I'm like, and I look over, and I got a tear in my eye, and both my brothers are crying. And my dad's like, fuck this, I can't cry in front of them. So he's walking in the other room. There were no good, like, motivational speeches in Warrior. Rocky Balboa, and that's the one where they drug the thing out too long, and he was talking to his son. It was really cool when I saw it, but when I watched back last night, it didn't age that well. Shawshank, Get Busy Living or Dying.
Yeah.
Meh. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Hoosiers. Pre-game speech.
Nah.
Hard nah.
Right.
What the fuck was that speech that Gene Hackman did?
Right.
And what the fuck were those old assistant coaches like vigorously nodding their head about? Like I thought the guy was going to break his neck nodding his head when they started clapping. What were we clapping about? I did not like the movie.
Now, what I will say, as corny and ubiquitous as it's become,
yeah,
measuring the free throw line to 15 feet, the hoop to 10 feet,
yeah,
I think people apply that in their lives. Hey, this stage is not too big.
Yeah.
Same as everything else I've ever done.
Yeah, sure.
But that speech, I'm with you. Those are different scenes.
Yeah, I mean, we could argue the ubiquity.
Like, hey, this pod, which is also a TV show on YouTube.com. The lights are bright. Yeah. There are cameras. There are producers.
But it's just 2 guys talking.
But I'm just talking to C. Long. I can do this.
I think it's the same reason you get nervous on a 10-foot balcony just as much as you do, standing 10 stories up. They could both kill you. Does that make sense?
How tall was the first one?
10 foot. No, 20 foot.
Okay.
It's like, everything's relative. It's all the same. Us just talking here. We're just 2 guys talking. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it does. I think it was a great point made by me that you've sort of commandeered.
No, but I'm saying my point.
The balcony one?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I jump off a 10-foot balcony, I'm good.
I meant 30.
Okay. Okay, then yeah. Good point.
But you're not going to tell somebody waiting to jump out of an airplane to like skydive or something, don't be nervous. It's just like a 30-foot balcony. That doesn't work. Both are going to kill you.
Right. When I jumped out of a plane in the year 2011.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah. I did. Orange County, Virginia.
Yeah, Cowboy Reed did it recently.
Recently? Nice,
Yeah, Cowboy
dude.
Reed showed up one day. I was like, hey, can I get the notes on the Jaguars? And he was like, yeah, man, I just came from skydiving.
Which those two things are similar. Skydiving and researching the
notes
Jags.
on the Jags.
Yeah.
What was your big skydiving takeaway?
Push my limits, prove myself to myself I could do something like that. Would never do it again. Hated it.
Nice.
Yeah. Don't recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend the Hoosiers pregame speech either, or Miracle on Ice. I know that's not popular. Cowboy Reed likes Miracle on Ice.
And I think we just call it Miracle, the film.
Yeah, Miracle, whatever. It was on ice, though, to be fair. Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Did everyone find that funny but me?
I found it funny.
Yeah, all right. Good.
You told a good joke. I guess I told a good joke indirectly. Kurt Russell, man, you know what? I love the guy, but the speech didn't do anything for me. And everybody loves it. It's just like the Hoosier speech. You scroll down in the YouTube comments, and people are like, oh, my God, I would run through a wall. I hope none of you guys ever do cocaine. Not that I know how that feels like, but I could imagine that you would probably run through 5 walls if the Hoosier speech gets you going.
Or Miracle
on Ice gets you going.
How about Glengarry Glen Ross, bro?
Come again?
Glengarry Glen Ross. It's a film.
I don't know that one.
Okay, it's about real estate.
Yeah?
It's about a lot of things, but it's about real estate.
And pushing the MLSs.
You might remember Coffees for Closers.
No, I don't remember that one.
How about ABC Always Be Closing?
No, I don't remember that one.
Okay, that's an Alec Baldwin character monologue. You might want to take a look.
Was it on TV? Because I don't watch TV.
Nah, dude. Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh, I don't know
famous
that one.
film. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
And I will follow through on sending you said link.
Okay, cool. That's great. Also, prep for an entire pod where the other person rarely talks in the meantime while you're sitting and have 2 kids. So, anyways, The Wrestler was one that I thought was authentic. It was also a great flick. Moneyball, you know, where he walks in, which, by the way, was a very good movie. Have you seen Moneyball?
No.
Jeez. I thought that was a good one. That's what losing looks like. And then Coach Carter, man, I'm afraid to look at the comments on Coach Carter's end of the season speech. I mean, Channing Tatum is in that movie, which is funny to me. Have you seen Coach Carter?
Oh, man. Coach Carter's the name of the film.
Yeah.
I was trying to think like,
Have you seen Coach Carter's presser?
Is that Remember the Titans?
Nah, Coach Carter. By the way, I'm not a Remember the Titans fan, so I'm a huge downer. I don't know if you
I don't even remember it at this point.
You don't remember the Titans.
Oh, nice.
Coach Carter.
Now that's funny.
Hey, you're going to remember the Titans Saturday night when we're live streaming Titans Baltimore, huh?
Tonight. Yes, sir.
Yep. Tonight. Coach Carter was way too quick. It was like the guys were miserable after they lost, and then he just like pops around the locker and has this pre-rehearsed speech that's got all this flowery language. And then there's like an awkward Channing Tatum like, it's a great speech. Samuel L. Jackson. I think I'll go do a buddy cop movie, which is a sensational movie, by the way. What's the movie with 21 Jump Street?
Blues Brothers.
Yeah. Invictus came up. Farkas. Matt Damon's fucking South African accent is the worst thing I've ever heard. Also, Major League. We can't not mention Major League. Any number of speeches in that movie are great.
The one you were just playing before we started taping is great.
Yeah. Shout out to Lou Brown.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaches and zany press conferences and pregame and postgame speeches, Mike Leach got another job. Football. Real quick, football. You think he's competitive in the SEC?
If competitive means 6 to 7 wins, ruining somebody's year for the next 5, yeah.
Okay. Sounds like right what he has in mind.
Well, that's what he did in Pullman.
Yeah, no, I know.
No, I don't know. Do I think he's going to be playing for titles? Nah.
Did you see him shaking that bell when he got off the plane?
It was perfect because his facial expression doesn't change.
Starkville.
Yeah, more cowbell.
I used to drunk dial Mike Leach. That's my, every time we talk about Mike Leach reminder, I'd be at Bonnaroo or a number of music festivals with Danny Amendola. Mike Leach beat my beloved Virginia Cavaliers. I was a member of this team in 2008. Seven. In the Gator Bowl.
Actually, was the ball game on January 1st? I think it was.
Yeah.
1108.
You're not doing well today with the corrections.
I'm doing really well correcting, actually.
Yourself, though. You've been corrected a couple times, which is not normal for you.
Hey, let's go back. Can we run that back? 2007, Con, 1-1.
Yeah, sure. I'll give it to you. I corrected. Well,
yeah,
sort of. Yeah, so Mike Leach beat us in the Gator Bowl. Me and Danny became good friends. The first night in St. Louis, I took Danny out to what's the name? Obie Clark's. It's a bar on Brentwood Boulevard in St. Louis, and I got him pissed drunk on Rumple Mints. He vomited in my closet. That was his first night in St. Louis, and me and Danny became like best buddies. We played against each other in the Gator Bowl. And we would drunk dial Mike Leach all hours of the day. And the thing about Mike Leach drunk dial is, you know when somebody drunk dials you, you want to get off the phone ASAP. Nothing worse than a drunk FaceTime, and I'm very guilty of that.
Yes.
But Mike Leach would stay on the phone for an hour and a half. The contents of these conversations I do not remember.
That's wild.
I can remember being at Coachella circa like 11 between shows, just sitting on a stump out there with Danny talking to Mike Leach on speakerphone. He got the job in Mississippi State. I love some of the press conferences. For those of you who do not watch Mike Leach press conferences, you've been living under a rock. You got the Jackalopes press conference. That's my favorite one. You're like pretty ambivalent on.
No, I'm fascinated by his brain.
I don't know. Yeah, in some ways, he's very confusing. And in some ways, he makes a lot of sense. You know, he's hit jackalopes. News to a lot of people that jackalopes weren't real, and that was the point he was making. He also likened it to the altitude. The metaphor was altitude and jackalopes. How you tie those two together, that's Russ Cole stuff, right?
Do you know where Mike Leach is from? I don't. I'm looking it up. I'm curious.
I don't know.
And how he's going to work in Starkville, Mississippi.
Culturally, it's a bit of a 180 from Pac-12.
The birthplace, at least, Susansville, California.
He would be from Susansville. Total fucking Susansville guy. Where is Susanville? Northern California? Or like the desert, like near Barstow?
My bad. Susanville.
Oh, okay.
Susanville. As most know, Susanville is in Northeast California.
Got you.
Yeah. Formerly known as Rooptown.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to change the name of your city.
From Rooptown to Susanville?
Couldn't I
mean, no offense to any Susans out there, but Rooptown is lit.
For any Susans listening, and I would place the over-under at 3. Are you taking the under on Susans listening to this pod?
Yeah.
For sure. If you
give me any name,
if one of your friends was like brought a new baby in the room and you were like, "What's the baby's name?" Susan. I'd be like, "That's a funny joke. It's 2020."
Well, I have some Susan friends, so I need to tread lightly.
Yeah, but also that was the 80s.
Yeah. These things ebb and flow. They're cyclical.
Yeah, I guess they are. But anyways, Mike Leach, shout out to the Susans. Mike Leach, Jackalopes, he gave the wedding monologue, which was mostly true, except my wife, Megan, my lovely wife, Megan, who gets a lot of shout outs on here, she noted.
You know, my lovely girlfriend, Kate, not to interrupt, we were talking about you last night, actually.
Maybe that's what the conversation with me and Macon was.
You mean Meg? Because I'm Macon.
With Meg, yeah, me and Meg.
Yeah, I was talking with Kate about your just kind of overall deficiencies as a person.
Yes, well, that's great.
We can talk about that later.
Well, the key to being happy is not caring what other people think about you. And in 2020, I'm going to be more positive, and I'm not going to worry about it.
Cool. I'm still going to follow up on what you were talking about.
Maybe we were talking about the fact that you haven't brought up your lovely girlfriend Kate on the pod.
Consider her brought up.
Oh, it's already been brought.
Now, to be fair, now I have to say that I was joking there with that word that's not a word. I said broughton as a joke.
It's okay. I think most people know you're a really intelligent guy.
Okay.
And Mike's monologue was that, in weddings, as catch-22 as a guy, you got to stay out of the way. But then when you're asked, an opinion, it doesn't matter. It is a catch-22. That was poignant.
Joseph Heller.
Huh?
Joseph Heller.
I think I'm using the word poignant wrong. Because poignant invokes sadness, doesn't it?
No.
Really? You sure? Look that up.
Yes.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, dude. That was a shocker to me, too.
Poignant.
I've been saying poignant for 32 years. Since I was 2 years old, I've been saying poignant.
Golly day. Poignant. Gosh, that's how poignant that was. I think I have, too.
Yeah, like, you use it probably in real estate all the time.
Nah.
Also, Mike Leach hates candy corn, which brings him down a peg, and there's some other things that are bringing him down a couple pegs in my book, but he likened it to fruitcake and mint juleps. I disagree. He called a reporter, and a lot of times you got coaches shitting on reporters, but when you call him a sanctimonious troll, that's a great takedown. I mean, like, you got to have that loaded in the chamber, or else your verbal IQ is just very... I mean, even you could go toe-to-toe with the best of them verbally.
Not today.
That's not on the tip of your tongue. Sanctimonious troll.
A synonym of poignant is touching. That's what I think of poignant as.
Well, I thought of his monologue as poignant. What's a word for very appropriate?
Spot on.
It was spot on. We're going to start going with spot on. He addressed the Bigfoot thing for like a minute on a whim. Like Mike Leach, you give him a word, he'll go for a while. He said it would be fun if you had Bigfoot. He doesn't know if he believes in it. He suspected that aliens are little green men. He goes, I don't know that they're specifically in our galaxy. Me neither. He's like, I'm not into the whole lightning strikes mud and there's a beetle thing. Like, you mean like the Big Bang Theory or evolution? He said that his defense of people saying that we're the only life forms it would be the universe, right? Galaxies are smaller than universes, right? Milky Way galaxy, the universe, giant. He said, well, I asked people, have you been to other planets? Have you checked out the other planets? Presumably no, Mike. But he did make a very poignant Mike Leach. He said, if you believe in God, which he does, not to get too deep here, you can still believe in aliens, because why wouldn't God create other planets like Earth? And I think Mike Leach, that was very progressive of him for somebody who seems to be religious. And then the whole monologue again on the Pac-12 mascots, who would win in a fight. That's another good YouTube thing to bring up on your laptop or phone, or people even on laptops anymore. I mean, outside of
we have two laptops.
I know,
on our
but
respective laps.
But if people are watching this on YouTube, are they watching it on their phones or on laptops? How do you imagine most people are watching this?
Laptops.
Really?
I don't know.
We're gonna take this to Twitter later. A poll: do you watch Greenlight on a laptop or a YouTube? I'm gonna bet that more people
or a YouTube
or an iPhone or let me call you on my YouTube. I mean,
old people talk about technology.
Yeah, I mean,
Pod.
That's like Bill Belichick calling Snapchat Snapface, which he really does. Mike Leach, if anything, is going to give us a lot of good content down in Starkville. So, on to this weekend's action, right? We were okay on the games last week, weren't we? You pulled up the old scores. I mean, we predicted the scores of the wild card round. We were close, at least on some of them. No?
We were okay. Your biggest win would be Titans 24-17. You had the winner there. My biggest win would be Texans 1916, which, as I've told you, no fewer than 25 times I nearly nailed.
No, I mentioned it with Dave today.
Final was 22-19. We both had the Eagles close. That didn't pan out. You had the Saints in a blowout. I had the Saints very close. Regret that.
Yeah.
But I technically take the dub. But let's look forward.
Wait, was that all 4 games?
I mean, I'm just mentioning highlights. If you want to get technical, I was closer in 3 of the ball games, and you were closer in 1.
Nice job.
Thanks, man.
I did have a nice weekend money making, though. Titans.
Money making.
Titans money line. That was a nice winner. And
I watched that game with you.
Yeah, we did.
With you and your cell phone.
And my YouTube.
Yep.
So this weekend we get another crack at it, right? We got the big 4 games coming up that we in the divisional round that we talked about with Dave. I got way more in depth on it. If you want to see the in-depth analysis of those 4 games, check out that video on YouTube on Chalk Media with Dave. We took like an hour talking about all the games and some uniform stuff. Plus, Macon has to get out of here. He's got a life. He's basically doing this as charity. I think this weekend we'll start with the Vikings game. Vikings-Niners.
Let's go chronologically. I agree.
Okay.
Depending on when you're listening to this, might have already happened.
Yeah.
Might be at 4:35 p.m. Eastern today.
But if you're lagging that long on the pod.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So spoiler alert.
Oh, right. We can tell them the final.
We can tell you exactly what's going to happen in these games.
Right now, this could change. Niners favored by 7, over under 44.5.
Okay, so I like the Vikings to cover for sure if I have a pick there, but I have Vikings 25-22 winning outright.
Wow.
Yeah, what do you have?
That's fascinating. I have Niners 31, Vikings 7.
Wow, you're yeah, I guess I might be married to this Kirk Cousins thing.
I think a lot of people are, because you don't see the bye teams in the wild card round, obviously.
Yes.
And you see the Vikings get a great win in New Orleans, and you think, hey, they can replicate that.
Little recency bias. I will tell you, like, my elevator pitch for why is the Vikings match up where they need to well. In the red zone, defensively, they're very good. Make Jimmy G drive the field. He'll make mistakes. Also, number 1 in the league, defending tight end. You take Kittle out of that equation. Plus, I like their D-line a lot. Their D-line was dominant last week, and they're going to be proven the best D-line on the field. My bold prediction, though, is Anthony Harris pick 6 on Jimmy G. 1 bold prediction per game.
Oh, per game?
Yeah. You don't have one.
I thought we were doing 1 total. I can do 1 per game.
Okay, cool. So I'll go, you have 31-7 Niners. I have 25-22 Vikings. I think Anthony Harris creates not only a big play, but it turns into points. And I'm going to say no Kittle touchdowns.
Okay. Are you going with two boldies there?
You can, depending on how bold you want to be.
Well, I'll piggyback on your bold prediction and say, despite going against number 1 D versus tight ends, Kittle over 100 yards receiving.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm saying 31-7, we got to get there somehow.
Well, we could both be right.
That's true.
Yeah.
But not on that score. I like the Niners to roll.
Okay. Yeah, Ravens 29-23 is what I'm going with in Baltimore.
Ravens 27, Titans 10.
Golly, man, I hope you're wrong about these games.
I got blowout Saturday.
I think the blowout comes on Sunday. Do you have a bold prediction there, or should I give you some time? Kind of like when the waiter comes with the menu. Not with the menu. You guys ready to order? And everybody looks at each other.
Yeah, why don't you order first?
Why don't you go? Why don't you make your bold prediction? Mine is that Derrick Henry runs over a defensive back so badly it elicits memories of Greg Jones. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who are ACC folks.
Carolina.
Who did he run over? It was one for those. Pull up on your YouTubes. Pull up on your YouTube devices. Greg Jones.
It was Sean Taylor.
No, it wasn't. Nice con attempt.
Yeah, the first one that comes up is Greg Jones.
Greg
runs
Jones
over Sean Taylor, but I agree that doesn't make sense.
Greg Jones was the hardest running dude. He became a fullback for Jacksonville. He played for Florida State, and he ran over. I think the guy's name was Dexter something.
Dexter Reed.
And he, man, it's one of the most violent. Now, it also will go to show you how much, if you're looking that up on YouTube, how much the quality of football film has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some grainy shit. I'd almost rather watch the NFL films, black and white stuff. That was Raycom Sports, like Doc Walker days.
That's right. I'm Facebook friends with Doc Walker.
Shout out to Doc Walker.
Yeah.
I like Doc. I think he's going to knock somebody's helmet off their head this weekend. I think if the Titans are smart, I mentioned this with Dave, they'll get Derek in space, and they will try to run guys over in that secondary who probably are less interested in tackling than they are in covering. I also think topically that he breaks the streak of this is an interesting streak actually. Last week he had 35 carries. That's the most in the playoffs since Sean Alexander in 2004. Now the last 4 players in the wild card round that ran for 100 yards or ran for over 30 carries, had 30 carries in a game, did not run for 100 yards or have 25 carries the next week. So if that trend, which I think makes sense, I mean, if you're going to tote the rock 35 times, you're probably not going to get it that many times. But he's so central to what they do, they're going to have to pound it. I think he eclipses that 100-yard mark. So give me him knocking somebody's helmet off and running for a century.
I think Mark Ingram is still questionable at the moment.
Yes.
I'm going to say he sits, and my bold prediction is that Gus Edwards outrushes Derrick Henry in this 27-10 romp for the 14-2 Ravens.
A lot of Ghostbusters music. And yeah. Chiefs 31, Texans 19.
Chiefs 30, Texans 27. Houston covers and has a shot.
Okay. My bold prediction is that Frank Clark has 3 sacks. I said last week that, was that yours as well?
Nah, my next, you'll see.
I said that Hughes was going to have a big day. I didn't lie about that. Hughes had 3. He had a hat trick because of the way that Deshaun was extending plays, and he will continue to do that. At Arrowhead, though, this is where Frank's going to make his money.
My bold prediction is that Andy Reid's clock management is impeccable.
Okay. That is bold.
Like, just does everything.
This is the year.
Just as a 14-year-old Madden player would advise.
Yeah. Okay.
And that sets up
Sunday.
That would set up Chiefs, Ravens.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants.
Whew.
We could also have, what's the Super Bowl you least want to say?
Okay, that would be Titans for sure.
Okay.
And the Vikings, I guess.
I'll say Texans, Packers. I do not want to see that because I don't want to be wrong about the Packers. For what?
Rodgers, Watson. I'm in.
You're in. I'd rather see chaos. I'd rather see Tannehill, Cousins.
Not a bad point.
I'm a big chaos fan.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. If you're going to give me chaos, give me off-brand chaos, not, holy shit, I thought that the Packers weren't that good and they're in the Super Bowl, and the Texans are actually not that good and they're in the Super Bowl, and Deshaun Watson's awesome. I'd rather see 2 guys that one was a backup in Miami and one was like, or he was a starter in Miami and the backup in Tennessee for half the year, and then one guy that everybody hated a month ago. So Hawks 23-20 to round out the weekend for me. I'm doing weird scores this weekend, and I am picking with my heart on some of these games.
Packers 20, Seahawks 10. I think the public is heavy on the Seahawks.
Are they really?
I'll check that out.
They're smart.
I think everyone's undervaluing number 12, who you've given a interesting nickname.
A-Rod.
Belongs to somebody else.
Well, he's the best A-Rod of all time.
Bold prediction, which is why I gave you a look on your last one. Zadarius Smith, hat trick.
No, I could. Is that even bold, though? Because Russ has been sacked more than anybody in the league.
Only once last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bold.
I think it's still bold. Any 3-sack game that you're predicting is bold. By the way, Zadarius Smith, is he the best non-quarterback on that field?
Best player, non-quarterback. Yeah.
I think
so.
Man, that guy this year was fun to watch. Some people get credit for making a lot of plays, sacks, rushers, that type of thing. And when you look at the tape, it doesn't quite match up to the numbers, the pressures. This guy was a fucking wrecking ball and head and shoulders above almost everybody else on the field defensively all year long. Didn't even get in the Pro Bowl, but he should be in the DPOY conversation. He won't get it, but he meant a lot. LSU, Clemson. Let's dip our toes in the college football, the dirty New Orleans college football.
When are we heading down there?
Oh, when are we heading down there? Sunday. Okay. You want to go?
Yeah.
You can go.
I can go.
Yeah. But you got to do the thing called like plane ticket.
Commit to going.
Yeah,
I'm going to tend to business here on the home front.
Yeah, you're going to stay.
And I'm going to watch the ball game on the tube.
I have a very unique opportunity to make some cash. The cash flow is not coming in the way it did when I was playing. So I do just about anything I can now to make some cash.
Yeah. And it's just unique. Nothing is very unique or a little bit unique.
Yeah.
Just unique opportunity for you to make some cash.
Absolutely. Unique. Chance to make some content with RR and
Martin?
Dan Katz. Russillo and Dan Katz and Stanford Steve's going to be down there. So we'll make some content. But what's going to happen in the game? I say LSU 37-32.
Okay. I got Clemson 41, LSU 36.
I would like that. ACC.
Yeah. I do. That number's at about 70.
Yeah.
I think it's over.
It's over. I think when I gave out the over for my Bet America pick this week with Stanford Steve, I also gave out Hawks. They'll cover. I'm much more confident in them covering than them winning. But
that's up to 4.5.
Here's what we're doing. Yeah. Now the Chiefs, I got them covering as well. The Titans, I got them covering. I have the Vikings covering as well. So
we're on. So I know we just did scores, but we're on the opposite of every single one of those games, which is going to
be interesting.
Which is neat.
It is neato. And then my bold prediction for the national championship game is that Burrow throws a pick. You're not going to see that same just tepid 3-man rush that you saw, nobody getting pressure. Last week was not weeks ago. Was that last week?
Well, no.
God, it feels like a long time ago he torched them for 7 touchdowns in the first half.
So let's say it's January the 11th now.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
The Orange Bowl I know was on December the 30th.
Yeah.
And we rolled in to watch the ball games on the 28th. So it was 11-3 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
We did it.
I think Venables is going to bring a lot of heat, and I think Burrow's going to throw his first pick in a while.
Okay. I'll say the nation, those of you who aren't aware of Travis Etienne, you will be on Monday night, and he wins the MVP.
Golly, that's bold.
Of the ball game.
Yeah, that's bold. I mean, you're really sticking your neck out there.
Hey, man, I know he's one of the best players on one of the 2 teams playing, but he is electric. He's electric.
You're doing a little Dabo Sweeney thing. Hey, nobody respects Travis Etienne.
Now, yeah. Hey, I'm not going to be upset if Coach O takes home the hardware.
I think the Tigers win.
Nice. 58% of the public on the Seahawks right now.
Wow. Usually I don't agree with Joe Public, but today I'm with you. Real quick before we get out of here, because, first off, let me give you a couple trends here. 7 of 8 clubs weren't alive this time last year. So the parity in the NFL, P-A-R-I-T-Y, not O-D-Y. For some of you who aren't into spelling, I'm into spelling. The parity is alive and well, especially juxtaposed to college football.
He's heating up.
Thunder Dan in the corner. NBA Jam circa 96.
You didn't need to explain the joke.
Well, we have a lot of millennials, like not like millennials like us, but younger millennials listen to our thing. I did a signing this week in Philly. A lot of people listen to the show. So shout out to everybody who came to Men's Warehouse this weekend. It was also illuminating to realize that some older people listen to the show. Sorry for cussing.
Hello, children and adults alike.
Largest turnover ever under the current format. And I think it's about the quarterback changes, man. Like this crop getting older, people leaving the game. Like it's just, we're in a really exciting time depending on what you make of it in pro football.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. Speaking of the audience, do you want me to talk about that one tweet?
Sure, I love that tweet.
I couldn't really piece it together. Matt Fromm, thank you, maybe. I know Twitter is supposed to be a haven for toxic negativity, but I gotta say, your appearance, Macon Gunter, doesn't do justice for how spot-on perfect your vocals, your style, your delivery, and your chemistry with @Joel91 is on these highly addictive Greenlight podcasts. Now, most of that is really nice. What's wrong with my appearance now?
What's his name? Jake Fromm?
Matt Fromm, perhaps brother of Jake.
Hey.
Also, my vocals, awful. My style.
No. If I gave you a scouting report, great vocals.
Okay. Somebody on Twitter said they weren't, and I've really been
Here, let me help you with this. People are always going to say mean things to you because they see you on YouTube.
Okay.
On their YouTube.
Right.
They want to be on their YouTube, and you are on their YouTube. They're haters, bro.
Okay.
Now, don't let the good stuff go to your head because there's plenty of it. I mean, I get a lot of, hey, Macon Gunner is great at this thing. Like, don't do that.
Okay.
You don't want to get complacent. We got a game to play next week and the next week. But also tune out the negativity. And Jake Fromm there.
He speaks highly of the podcast and our chemistry, but my appearance doesn't do justice to all those things. As in, like, I look awful. I don't.
That's why we got the pod. You know, and generally, I know you resent the fact this is a TV show.
I just think it's fascinating.
Well, a lot of people watch, obviously, because some people are commenting on your appearance.
Yeah, this is what I look like. Can't do much about it.
Got a haircut. Nice job. Trends, though, as they continue.
I'll stay for those.
Okay.
Because you know what?
What?
I came here to build a great team.
Yeah, you did.
But more importantly, I came here to build a program that lasts. And the way you go about that is you have great integrity and you have great passion. Anthony Guy Bennett, 2009. 10 years later, he wins a title.
Yeah, so we might win a title in 10 years. Since 28-3, the average margin in playoff games has been 8 points. And 4 of the last 7 playoff games have gone to OT.
In this round?
Period. Is that true? Road teams are 8-6 over the last 14. You cannot predict this stuff. I mean, it's just like, and then for the first time, 2 years in a row, we had 2 6 seeds advance. So parity in the NFL is alive and well. I was going to see if maybe I had an inkling from you as where Brady might end up, but we're probably going to run out of time, huh?
New England.
I don't know about that.
That's right. 4 of the last 7, because 2 in Wild Card Weekend and 2 of last year's conference championship games.
Yep. Bam.
Bam, bam.
Bam, bam. Yep. I mean, we can get into the Brady thing later. You know, people talk about the Chargers, the Dolphins, the Colts, the Bears, Vegas, Dallas, Tennessee. You have anybody to throw in the hat there?
Nah, because he's posturing and showing that he's in charge and he needs more weapons and he's staying in Foxborough.
Yeah, so he's hemming and hawing a little bit, but it's all for naught.
Yep.
It's not all for naught. There's much to do about nothing.
He's flexing.
He's flexing, and he should. The GOAT should flex, can flex. I think if you're playing the field, again, check out the Dave Damashek pod that we just did on Greenlight. We talked about this. I think Miami is a good wild card. Not as into the other places as some other people. We will see how the Brady thing shakes out. We will see on Saturday night for the divisional round. We've
Ravens,
got Tennessee
Titans.
at Baltimore, and that game is at what time, mate? Because you're better with the times.
I want to say 8:15. You want to correct me?
No, I don't need to correct you.
Does anybody want to correct me? Okay, nobody wants to correct me. 8:15 it is.
Y'all take care. Do you want to do corrections today?
We did it throughout the program.
Yeah, you're right. Y'all take care. We'll see you later tonight.